Good afternoon. I'm joined by Mike Sprayberry, Emergency Operations Director, Colonel Gray, the head of the Highway Patrol, and Frank Perry, the head of Public Safety. Well, here we go again. We're going to do everything we can to be over-prepared and hopefully underwhelmed for the next storm that may be coming North Carolina's way. And we've been meeting since Friday, looking at the weather forecast, and we want to give you an update on some of those meetings. I'm going to first say a few words and then have Mike Sprayberry give you more details about exactly what we're doing, and then answer any questions you might have. Hurricane Matthews is being tracked very closely by our weather and emergency operations employees. We're taking this storm extremely seriously. And again, our goal is to be over-prepared and hopefully underwhelmed. And even though this storm is still several days out, at least several days out, we still don't know exactly what the storm track will be. And we don't know how North Carolina will be impacted by this potential hurricane. Our estimates right now that we'll maybe starting to feel impacts from strong winds Thursday night and Friday morning. But due to the stalling in previous days of this potential hurricane, we're still unaware of the exact schedule. But we're keeping very strong track of it, and we're taking it very seriously. Today, I have declared a state of emergency for 66 counties in central and eastern North Carolina at the request of our Agricultural Commissioner, Troxler. And the reason I'm doing this is so beginning right now, we can help our farmers clear their fields of and expedite their harvest of some needed crops in North Carolina. Crops, by the way, that have been quite damaged by heavy rain during the past couple of weeks. I've seen some of the crop damage during the last 2 weeks, especially the peanut crop, and already many crops are destroyed due to previous storms and previous floods that we've had during the past 10 days. But we don't want to have other crops ruined for the year, so we want, and some farmers have requested they be able to get those crops up immediately. Therefore, the executive order as part of that emergency action is to waive truck weight, size, and hours of service restrictions for agricultural vehicles so that farmers can quickly harvest these crops. The crops primarily are corn, peanuts, cotton, tobacco, soybeans, and sweet potatoes. This is a crucial time of the year for those crops, and we want to do everything we can to help those farmers. And what we don't want them to do is wait until Thursday to have them begin doing that expedition of the harvest, because at that point in time, we may want them to clear out of certain areas of our state. And we just don't know yet, so we'd like that process to start right now. Also, this executive order may help expedite the movement of other resources to help us respond to this hurricane. That's going to be primarily utility trucks, preparing for potential storm outages. And if you think about it, being an old utility person, the ground is saturated at this point in time. And when the ground is saturated, and then if heavy winds come, there's a great likelihood for a lot of trees to come out and fall on power lines throughout our state. And that could be some very serious issues. Also, we're also concerned about flooding because of the ground saturation, and also because our rivers are at this point in time very high because of the rain during the last 2 weeks. So we want to make sure that we have everything in place early prior to the potential of a hurricane hitting North Carolina. Again, maybe a lot of people may think, why so early? That is exactly why we're doing it early, because we don't know, and if it comes, we want to be prepared as early as possible. Again, I want to thank our emergency management officials and first responders, law enforcement, and National Guard for working together. They've been extremely busy this past 2 weeks down in the coast in the Northeast due to the heavy flooding, also in Charlotte, but they're ready to go again if called upon. And that's why they're there. That's why they're trained. And that's why we need to continue to appreciate our troopers, our emergency first responders, and also our National Guard. Again, I'm hoping that this is a false alarm, but we can't gamble, and we won't gamble with people's lives and the livelihood of many people up and down the coast. I'm also especially concerned not just in the beach areas, but one thing we've learned in North Carolina is the inland areas are the ones that are often hit the most, and that's not where the cameras are, but there's often extensive damage, as we saw last week in Windsor, a town that is still recovering from a devastating flood that they had. So with that, I'm going to ask Mike to say a few comments. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate Mike Sprayberry and his team. They've been not getting a lot of sleep for a while, and we were hoping to get some time off, but Mike's ready to go, and so is Frank, and so is Colonel Gray and the rest of the team, and I'm very, very proud of this team. So with that, Mike will give you some details, then the both of us will answer some questions that you might have. Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As the governor said, we're taking Hurricane Matthew very seriously, although I have to say that right now the time, track, and intensity could very well change as it moves its way north up past the eastern coast of the United States. Currently, it's at a Category 4 storm, and basically out from the eye of the hurricane, they are currently experiencing tropical storm force winds, which is 39 miles per hour up to 73 miles per hour, 200 miles out from the eye of the hurricane. 30 miles out from the eye of the hurricane, they're experiencing hurricane force winds, which is 74 miles per hour and higher. So a strong storm, a big storm. We're not really sure if it's going to make landfall, but I can tell you that it will create issues for North Carolina, even if it just hits us with a glancing blow, because as the governor said, we certainly are saturated in eastern North Carolina with all the rain that we've recently had. So let me talk to you about what we've been doing so far. We've been having conference calls since last Thursday with FEMA Region 3, which is up in Philadelphia, and FEMA Region 4, which is down in Atlanta. We belong to FEMA Region 4, as well as our adjacent states of Virginia and South Carolina. The reason why we're doing that is to make sure that if there's any cause for evacuation, that it's well synchronized. These conference calls have been done under the detailed guidance of the governor and Secretary Perry from DPS. We have also begun initiation of daily conference calls with our counties. We have to have a good understanding of what their vulnerabilities are and unmet needs, but I will tell you that they're a good team, they're very strong, and they're great partners. We've already worked with the governor to get a state of emergency, and not only just to expedite the harvest out in the fields and to get our power trucks, but also to tap into the state resources that are part of the governor's state emergency response team. Of course, they will have the appropriate transportation waivers, just as you just heard him talk about. We've also conducted an operations tactics meeting where we looked at our timeline and also the resources that we need, and that's everything from medical resources to National Guard to Highway Patrol, all different kinds of resources so that we can be staged and ready to respond not later than this Thursday night. We don't want to have any resources moving about the field when we have tropical storm force winds in place. FEMA has also deployed an incident management assistance team. They're already here in the state EOC, as well as a liaison officer, and we do expect to have a federal coordinating officer from FEMA here at the state EOC this afternoon. I want to ask that all the people that are listening out there to make sure that they listen to their local officials and their local media. Very important to stay in contact so that you can hear all of the important weather updates. I'd also say to visit North Carolina Emergency Management on Twitter and to follow us and look at us at readync.org website, and also download the ReadyNC app for your iPhone or Droid. It'll tell you how to make a preparedness kit so that you can be ready for this event as it unfolds before us. I'm pending your questions. Thank you, sir.
Just one other thing. I think the Highway Patrol would like me to say this, and also local police authorities. For those people that are going to be driving through agricultural areas, where there could be a lot of activity. Please be very careful of the farm equipment when you're driving on not only the main roads but also the back roads, because many of the farmers are going to be working very, very hard to get their crops up quickly. And please respect their right-of-way as they're going down the road and be extremely careful. And again, I'd like to thank the agricultural community for wanting to begin this process now, because what we don't want them to do is doing it up to the moment in time when the storm might be coming, because that could put them and others in a precarious position, which we don't want to do. And that's one reason why we're doing this on Monday. I think it's a very, very smart recommendation from Commissioner Troxler, and we're fulfilling that request. I think it'll also help the utilities, and also looking at other assets that we need in the Guard and the troopers. Also, we're looking at where they might, their resource allocations throughout the state this coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we're beginning that process of coordinating all of our resources for the potential of a very serious event. So with that, I'll be glad to take any questions. If you could recognize yourself, and then I'll be glad to take a question. Yes, sir.
Bo Minnick with CBS North Carolina. You mentioned that areas that have had some flooding in recent weeks, I'm guessing you're talking about, you mentioned Windsor. I don't know if you're also including the Fayetteville area in that.
Well, again, we do not know where the impact of this storm can be, but Fayetteville is, by the way, I want to commend the mayor, Robertson, for his excellent work there. We were on the phone with him on several times last week with their emergency operations team, who are working very directly with Mike. With conference phone call, I think Wednesday or Thursday, with the mayor. So they're very saturated in the Fayetteville area. They're very in the Edenton, Windsor area, probably about 6 or 7 counties in the northeastern part of North Carolina. So it's not good for them right now.
You spoke about farmers. What should people as a whole right now, what should everybody in those areas where the ground is saturated, what can they do 3 or 4 days in advance?
I think 3 or 4 days in advance, now is the time to make sure you've got your emergency package available with flashlights, with needed water, with needed supplies, so you aren't waiting until the last second to go get batteries. The typical things we do request on our website for in cases that you are in isolation due to flooding or wind or other damage, electric power outages. The other thing you might want to look at, again, as it gets closer, is other alternative areas that you might need to possibly go to if, in fact, there are evacuations in certain areas. And many of these people, especially around the beach areas, are pretty used to this, but now might be the time to start looking in case this comes. There might be some areas that we can go to with relatives or other things, which so those are the kind of things they need to start thinking about now on Monday, not thinking about it the day before it comes. And again, this is kind of unique because the forecast is slowed down a little bit. Again, I hope we're over-responding.
Governor, Elena Athens, ABC 11. I believe I heard the emergency management director talking about how today you're expecting a representative from FEMA to arrive here. Are you making any other efforts to move some of your crews from the westernmost part of the state closer to the east side, or are you? I'm gonna let
Mike deal with that.
Thank you, sir. That's absolutely correct. So when we take a look at an event like this, we reposition assets throughout the state so that they'll be closer to where the actual event's going to be. So when I mentioned that we had a tactics meeting, that's exactly what we were talking about, where we're going to shift resources and to include personnel from the west down to the east, and we try to, position them so that we're not leaving any place that needs help that doesn't have it.
The unique thing about that is it's not an exact science, because the storms always surprise us, and our assets want to be right at the edge of where the impact is so they can get in and immediately deal with it, as opposed to be in the middle of it where they can't do much help themselves if they themselves are impacted by the flooding. So that's the fine line that they're walking, is guessing exactly how far east to move those resources, and also what part of the east. Would it be the southeast, the northeast, or all of the above?
And I just want to clarify, are you in the process of doing that, or are you going to hold off and maybe wait until the latter end of the week, or?
That'll be starting tomorrow, and but we have some people that actually work for the agency that are packing their kits right now, getting ready to roll.
And the other area, and the troopers and other areas under our responsibility is looking at where our potential people are potentially deployed next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, events and things of that nature, and going, looking at that strategy. We got a lot of events going on this coming weekend throughout North Carolina, which also puts a strain on our resources. So we're looking at every potential option of where our resources are and where they might need to be in case this hurricane hits North Carolina. Any other questions? Again, yes, sir.
If you started to talk about earlier, but power outages, Duke Energy, are they bringing crews in from other states? What do you know?
At this point in time, I'm going to let Mike answer that question. There's ongoing dialogue with them.
So I'm sure that Duke Energy's watching this just as closely as we are, and you know they're having to look at not just us but also Florida as well. So I don't think that they have any pre-positioned assets here in North Carolina at this time. I can't say for certain, but I know that they're watching very carefully, and they have plans in place to surge towards wherever the action is at any given time.
Thank you all very much, and I appreciate the media's cooperation. It's important for all of us to just give accurate information on what's going to be happening, and we'll see. A lot of this is out of our hands, but because of that, we're going to make sure we're prepared, and I appreciate the media helping in this effort. Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you very much.